Rian walked across the quiet desert with slow steps, trying to reach the next town before nightfall. The sun was low, the air dry, and the land empty as far as he could see. He had traveled this desert many times, but today something felt different. The wind carried a strange sound, like metal moving under sand. He stopped and listened. There was again a dull clink. Rian followed the noise, thinking maybe a broken machine was buried nearby. But when he pushed aside the sand with his boot, he froze. A thick metal chain lay half-buried under the surface. It was huge, thicker than his arm, and covered in strange symbols he did not recognize. He crouched down and brushed away more sand. The chain stretched far into the distance, disappearing behind a low hill. Curiosity pushed him forward, even though a part of him felt nervous. As he walked around the hill, his steps slowed. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Then he realized they were not. A giant figure lay collapsed on the sand. Her body was enormous, almost 3 times taller than a human. Scales covered parts of her arms and shoulders. She had wings, but they were folded close to her back, too weak to move. Her hair was long and wild, falling around her like silver threads. Her wrists and ankles were locked in the same thick chains he had seen earlier. Rian didn't dare move at first. He simply stared. The giant dragon woman lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were bright gold, but tired, as if she had not slept in a long time. When she saw him, she tried to pull away even though she could barely move. "No! Don't come closer," she whispered, her voice rough and dry. Rian swallowed, unsure what to do. He had met many alien species before, but nothing like her. She was powerful, huge, and clearly dangerous. But she was also hurt. The chains cut into her skin. She looked thirsty, weak, and afraid. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "Do you need water?" The dragon woman stared at him for a long moment, and then her eyes softened with exhaustion. She didn't speak, but she didn't pull away either. Rian slowly opened his water pack and poured some into a small metal cup. He placed it on the sand and stepped back, showing he meant no harm. The woman reached out with trembling fingers, lifted the cup, and drank. Her hands were shaking so badly that some water spilled, but she didn't stop until it was empty. He offered her more. She drank again, this time slower. "Thank you," she managed to say. Her voice was still weak, but there was a hint of relief. "What happened to you?" Rian asked quietly. She looked down at the chains. "Long story," she said. "It does not matter now." Rian walked closer, keeping his movements calm. He touched one of the chains, and the symbol on it glowed faintly. The metal felt warm, almost alive. "These aren't human-made," he said. "No," she replied. "They were made to hold someone like me." Rian studied her face. She looked strong in a way he had never seen before, but also tired and lonely. He wondered how long she had been trapped here. "How long have you been chained?" he asked. The dragon woman closed her eyes. "A long time, longer than your people have been on this world." Rian felt a chill, but he did not step back. Instead, he looked at the chains again. They were locked with mechanisms he did not understand, but he had fixed strange devices before. Maybe he could unlock them. "Let me try to help you," he said. Her eyes opened wide. "No, you should leave. If you free me, it might be dangerous." Rian shook his head. "You're not a danger right now. You're suffering." She almost laughed, but the sound turned into a cough. "Human," she said softly, "you do not know what I am." "Then I'll learn," he replied. He took out his toolkit, a small metal box he always carried. The dragon woman's eyes widened slightly as she watched him kneel beside the nearest lock. She seemed frightened, not at him, but of what might happen if he succeeded. Rian worked carefully, studying the strange mechanism. It wasn't like anything he had ever seen. The lock reacted to his touch, glowing again. He tried different tools, feeling the inner movements. Little by little, the lock began to shift. The dragon woman's breath grew tense. She looked worried. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "You don't understand." With a soft click, the lock opened. The chain went slack. The desert became silent. Rian pulled the chain off her wrist. She stared at her freed arm, almost unable to believe it. Then she looked at him with a mixture of fear, gratitude, and something he could not name. "You freed me," she said quietly. "We're not finished," he answered and moved to the next lock. One by one, he opened them. It took time, and each lock felt more complex than the last. The sun moved lower, turning the sky orange. When he opened the final lock, the chains fell away completely. The dragon woman sat still for a long moment, breathing deeply. Then she stood, even weak. She towered over him. The ground trembled slightly under her weight. Her eyes glowed brighter now, almost too bright. Rian stepped back, unsure if he had made a mistake. The dragon woman spread her wings slowly, letting the air move through them. Something ancient and powerful filled the desert, a pressure he could feel on his skin. For the first time, she looked truly awake. Rian wondered if freeing her had been the right choice. Then she looked down at him, not angry, not violent, but serious. "You do not know what you have done," she said softly. "But thank you for trusting me." Even in the fading light, he sensed it. Something had changed in the desert. Something big. Something he could not yet understand. And it all began with a giant woman in chains. Rian walked beside the giant dragon woman as the evening wind moved across the desert. She was still weak, but without the chains she could stand straight. Her wings stretched a little with every step, as if they were testing the air again after years of being trapped. Rian kept glancing at her, unsure what to call her. She noticed and spoke first. "My name is Seraph," she said in a low voice. It has been a long time since anyone asked. Rian nodded. "I'm Rian, and I'm glad you're free." Seraph gave a small smile, but it faded quickly. She looked toward the darkening sky with worry. "Freedom is not always simple," she said. "Some will come looking for me." Rian didn't fully understand, but he felt a tightening in his chest. "Who?" She walked a little faster, leaving deep footprints in the sand. "People who do not want a dragon woman like me to walk free." Before Rian could ask more, Sarah suddenly stopped. She raised her head and sniffed the air like an animal sensing danger. Rian froze. "What is it?" "Machines," she whispered. "Flying ones. Coming fast." Rian listened carefully, and a moment later he heard it too, a faint humming sound from far away. The sound grew louder. Sarah stepped in front of him as if to shield him. "You must hide," she said. Rian shook his head. "No, I'm not leaving you." Sarah looked down at him with frustration, but also a strange softness. "You freed me. That already puts you in danger." Rian grabbed his small pack and pulled out a device made of old metal and wires. "I've survived danger before. I'll help." Before Sarah could argue, bright lights cut through the dark sky. 3 small aircraft flew overhead, scanning the desert with blue beams. They circled above the hill where Seraph once lay in chains. "They found the empty site," she whispered. Rian's heart beat fast. "Who are they?" "Hunters," she said. "They were paid to watch me, to guard me, to make sure I never escaped." Rian felt anger rise inside him. "So they chained you and left you in the desert like an animal?" Sarah's wings twitched. "Yes, because they fear what I can become." The aircraft turned toward them. Rian grabbed Sarah's hand without thinking. Her hand was huge compared to his, but she didn't pull away. He pointed toward a group of rocks in the distance. "Come on." They ran. Sarah's steps were long and powerful, even in her weakened state. The aircraft spotted them and shined bright searchlights on the sand. "They see us," Rian shouted. Sarah stopped suddenly. "Get behind me," she ordered. Rian ducked behind her as she turned to face the lights. With a deep breath, she opened her wings fully. They were massive, stretching wider than a house. The force of the movement pushed sand into the air. The aircraft hovered lower, preparing to fire stun rounds. Rian shouted, "They're aiming!" Seraph lifted her arms. Her eyes glowed like gold fire. For a moment, Rian thought she would unleash some dangerous power, but nothing happened. Her shoulders dropped. "I am too weak," she whispered. The aircraft fired. Blue stun bolts shot through the air, hitting the sand around them. One bolt hit Sarah's chest. She staggered but did not fall. Rian ran to her side. Sereth, she pushed him away gently. Do not worry. These weapons will not stop me. But Rian saw the pain in her eyes. The stun bolts hurt her more than she admitted. He grabbed the device from his pack and twisted 2 wires together. The device lit up with a small electric spark. Okay, let's hope this works. Sereth looked confused. What is that? A trick I made for sandstorms, he said. But maybe it can confuse their scanners. He threw the device into the air. It burst with a bright flash and a wave of static. The aircraft lights flickered. They can't see us, Rian shouted. Sarah smiled for the first time since the chains fell away. She grabbed Rian gently, too gently for someone so strong, and lifted him onto her back. Hold on, she said. What? Before he could argue, she spread her wings again. This time, she forced the weak muscles to work. With a loud beat, she jumped into the air. It wasn't smooth. It wasn't high, but it was enough to escape the scanner beams. The aircraft fired again, but the shots missed. Sarah landed behind a tall line of rocks, panting heavily. Her wings shook with exhaustion. Rian climbed down. Are you okay? She nodded slowly. My strength is returning, but not fast enough. They both listened. The aircraft were still searching, but farther away now. We need to get away from this place, Rian said. Yes, Sarah agreed. But the hunters will not stop. They will tell others. Soon many will come. Rian frowned. Why do they want you trapped so badly? Sarah looked at the stars. Her voice was quiet. Because I am not just any dragon woman. I am the last daughter of an old bloodline. If I return home, I can challenge the ones who rule now. They fear that. Rian stared at her. So they kept you chained so no one would ever know you existed? Yes. Rian felt anger burn inside him again. That's not fair. You deserve to be free. Sereth looked at him with eyes that glowed softly in the dark. You speak like that even though helping me puts you in danger. I know, Rian said, but I'm not leaving you. For the first time, Sereth's expression changed into something warm and almost hopeful. Then we must move quickly, she said, before my enemies gather. Rian nodded. He didn't know where they were going. He didn't know what dangers waited ahead. But he knew one thing for certain. Freeing Sereth was only the beginning of the trouble, and only the beginning of a story far bigger than either of them expected. The desert wind blew softly around them as they walked, but Marcus could feel the tension rising inside Syraxa. She was quiet, too quiet, and every step she took seemed heavy with old memories. He had freed her from chains, yet he still knew almost nothing about the life she had lived before he found her. For a long time, she said nothing. Marcus didn't want to push her, but curiosity pressed on his mind. He had seen fear in her eyes when the sand merchants attacked. He had heard the pain in her voice when she said she knew them. At last he asked her gently, Syraxa, what happened to you before I met you? She stopped walking. Her large shadow covered him from the sun. Her wings folded tightly against her back, almost as if she wanted to hide them. You want to know my past, she said quietly, but it is not a good story. It is not soft. It is not easy. Marcus nodded. I want to understand you. That's all. Syraxa slowly lowered herself to sit on a wide stone. She stared at the horizon, her golden eyes distant and sad. I was not always chained, she began softly. Once I was a guardian. My people had many protectors, and I was one of them. We defended the desert cities from raiders. We flew across the dunes to keep everyone safe. Marcus blinked in surprise. You were a protector? She nodded. Yes, and I believed in peace. I believed our strength should shield the weak. But others did not agree. There were dragon clans who wanted power, not peace. And there were humans who feared us and thought we were monsters. Her voice grew darker with each word. One day, we were betrayed. A human tribe we trusted sold us to slavers. They feared our power and wanted control. They tricked us into lowering our guard. When I woke, I was bound. My wings tied. My arms chained. She closed her eyes, remembering. They sold us one by one. Some of my people were taken far away. some never seen again. I was too large, too strong. They kept me alive because they believed someone would pay a great price for me. Marcus felt anger rising inside him. So they chained you in the desert like some tool? Yes, she said softly. I fought at first. I tried to break free. But every time I resisted, they hurt me. They starved me. They beat me. Until one day I stopped fighting. Marcus felt his hands shake. He didn't know what to say. She had lived through something terrible, something that would break most people. Yet she still stood, still spoke, still tried to be gentle. Syraxa looked at him slowly. When you found me, I had lost hope. I thought you were another slaver, another human ready to use me. Marcus swallowed. I didn't want to use you. I only wanted to help. I see that now, she said. But that day when you touched my chains, I thought you were foolish. I thought you did not understand the danger. I thought freeing me would bring trouble to you. And I was right. Marcus gave a small smile. Yes, a lot of trouble. Syraxa sighed and looked at the sky. But something else happened too. Something I did not expect. What? He asked. I felt safe. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. I had not felt safe for a long time. You stood with me even when you knew nothing about me. You protected me even when you learned the truth. And that is something rare. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest, not from the sun but from something deeper. Anyone would have helped. No, she said firmly. Not anyone. Many would run. Many would fear me. But you stayed. The silence between them was calm now, not heavy. The wind carried the scent of sand and the distant call of desert birds. Syraxa's voice became gentle again. My past is filled with pain. It shaped me. It hardened me. But it did not destroy me. I still want peace. I still want to protect instead of hurt. Marcus nodded. And you're free now. Her eyes softened. Free, yes. But freedom is strange after so long. I do not know what my future is supposed to look like. You don't have to know yet, Marcus said. One step at a time. We'll figure out together. Syraxa stared at him for a long moment. Her breath was slow and calm, and for the first time, a small, almost shy smile appeared on her face. You are a strange human, she whispered. But perhaps you're the kind I needed. Marcus laughed softly. I'll take that as a compliment. She rose to her full height again, stretching her wings slightly. The past still weighed on her, but now it felt like she wasn't carrying it alone. They continued walking through the desert, side by side. The sun burned overhead, but the journey felt lighter. The truth was revealed, the pain shared, and something new had started between them. Something fragile, but strong enough to grow. And far above them, hidden in the clouds, someone watched. A shadow moved. A shape followed. Trouble was not finished with them yet. But for now, they walked forward. Together. The sun was beginning to fall when Marcus and Syraxa reached a small cliffside. From there, they could see the open desert stretching far into the horizon. The sky was painted in soft orange and gold, but the moment was not peaceful. A storm was coming, just not one made of wind or sand. Syraxa stopped suddenly. Her wings tightened against her back, and her pupils narrowed. They are here, she whispered. Marcus froze. Who? She looked toward the far dunes, her voice low and tense. The hunters, the ones who chained me before. They must have followed us. They never let go of prey they once owned. Marcus's heart began to beat faster. How many? Too many, she said. More than you can fight. More than I can fight alone. He followed her gaze and saw small figures moving across the sand, gliders, sandrunners, and armored riders. A whole hunting party. Syraxa stepped back, her voice shaking slightly. I should leave. They want me, not you. If I fly far away, they will chase me and forget you. Marcus stared at her. You want to face them alone? I must, she said. They will kill you. You freed me and they hate freedom. Marcus felt fear, but he also felt something stronger, anger, and something like loyalty. No, he said firmly. I'm not letting you go alone. Syraxa looked down at him like she didn't understand. Marcus, I am a dragon. I am large, strong, and dangerous. You are only a human. You will die if you stay. Maybe, he said, but I won't let you walk back into a cage alone. Her eyes widened a little. No one had ever refused to abandon her before. Not her old allies, not her captors, not anyone. She had always stood alone. But why? She asked softly. Why choose danger? Why choose me? Marcus didn't know how to explain it in fancy words. So he said it simply. Because you matter. Because you deserve to be free. And because I said I'd help you. Syrax's breath caught. For a moment, she looked almost fragile, like she didn't know how to handle someone choosing her without fear or gain. She lowered her head closer to him. If you stay, then we fight together. He nodded. A slow breath left her chest. Then, I choose to protect you too. The riders drew closer, the sound of engines and metal echoing across the sand. Syraxa stepped forward, placing herself between Marcus and the threat. Marcus held his old rifle tight, even though he knew it wouldn't stop many. Syraxa looked at him once. Stay behind me. Do not run unless I tell you. Marcus took a position at her side instead. No, I stand with you, not behind you. She blinked in surprise, then gave a small smile. Very well. Together, then. The hunters stopped a short distance away. Their leader stepped forward, a tall man with metal armor and cruel eyes. So, the leader shouted, the beast found herself a pet human. Marcus clenched his jaw. Syraxa's wings twitched, but she stayed silent. You should have stayed chained, the leader said to her. You were worth a fortune. Now look at you, hiding behind a tiny desert rat. Marcus lifted his rifle. She's not hiding. The man laughed. Oh, and you think you can protect her? Or yourself? Syraxa finally spoke, her voice calm but full of power. I am not yours. Not anymore. The man's face twisted with anger. You are whatever we decide you are. He raised his hand to signal an attack, but Syraxa moved first. She spread her wings wide, creating a blast of air that knocked sand into the hunters' faces. Marcus used a moment to fire a warning shot, forcing two riders to duck. Chaos broke out. Riders charged. Syraxa swung her tail, knocking several off their mounts. Others tried to net her, but she burned the nets with a small burst of fire, just enough to break them, not enough to kill. Marcus stayed close to her, shooting at engines, wheels, and weapons. He wasn't deadly, but he was smart, slowing their enemies instead of trying to fight them head-on. A rider came close and tried to grab Marcus. Syraxa roared, diving in front of him and using her claws to block the attack. You will not touch him, she shouted. The leader saw the two of them, human and dragon, side by side, and his expression changed. He realized something dangerous. She wasn't fighting alone anymore. She bonded with a human, he growled. This is worse than I thought. He pulled out a long spear powered by energy coils. I'll end this myself. He charged straight at Marcus, but Syraxa moved faster. She leaped in front of him, taking the blow to her shoulder. Sparks flew. She cried out in pain but did not step back. Marcus fired at the leader's weapon, shattering the coil. The spear fizzled, useless. Syraxa grabbed the leader and threw him onto sand. The other hunters froze. This ends now, she growled. Her eyes burned with strength, not anger. You will leave, and if you return, I will not hold back. The hunters hesitated, looked at the defeated leader, and slowly retreated, gathering their wounded as they went. Soon, the desert fell quiet again. Syraxa breathed heavily, blood dripping from her shoulder. Marcus rushed to her. You're hurt. She shook her head. A small wound. It will heal. You didn't have to take that hit. She looked at him gently. I chose to. Marcus felt a warm, strange feeling in his chest. Syraxa spoke softly. You stood beside me. You did not run. You treated me as an equal. No human has done that before. And no dragon has ever protected me like you did, Marcus replied. Syraxa looked at him, her expression filled with something new. Trust, maybe even hope. We stand together now, she whispered. Whatever comes next, we face it side by side. And for the first time since she had been chained, she did not feel alone. Marcus always thought he understood the desert. He thought he knew its dangers, its silence, and its secrets. But after everything that happened, he realized something important. He had been wrong. The desert was not the real danger. The real danger was believing he could walk through life alone. And now, as he walked beside Syraxa, he understood how much his life had changed. After the battle with the hunters, Marcus brought Syraxa to an old shelter he had built years ago. It was small, quiet, and hidden under a rocky ridge. He helped her sit down and cleaned the wound on her shoulder. She watched him carefully, her eyes soft. "You don't need to do this," she said. "I know," Marcus replied, "but I want to." Syraxa lowered her head slightly, almost like she was shy. No one had ever cared for her wounds before. She was always seen as a weapon, a trophy, or a threat, never someone worth tending. Marcus wrapped the cloth around her shoulder. "There, you'll heal fast." She lifted her arm slowly, testing it. "It already feels better." A moment passed, calm and warm. Then Syraxa spoke the words Marcus didn't expect. "You thought freeing me was your mistake," she said softly. "But you were wrong. I am not your burden." Marcus blinked, surprised. "I don't think you're a burden." "You did at first," she said gently, not in anger. "When trouble came, when the hunters followed us, you thought freeing me caused danger. You thought you made the wrong choice." Marcus felt his face warm. She was right. He had wondered if he should have walked away when he first saw her in chains. Syraxa looked at him with a steady gaze. "You saved me, and because of that, I am still alive. Do not regret that." Marcus took a slow breath. "Maybe you're right." She tilted her head. "Maybe." He laughed softly. "Okay, you're right." Syraxa smiled, a small, slow smile that changed her whole face. It made her look softer, warmer, almost happy. They stayed in the shelter for 2 days while Syraxa healed. During that time, the air between them changed. They talked more. She told him about her people, how they were once guardians of the desert skies, how other species feared them and hunted them for their strength. She told him how she was captured, sold, chained, and moved from camp to camp like an object. Marcus felt his chest tighten with anger. No one deserved that, not even a giant dragon. In return, Marcus shared stories about his life. How he had lost his team during a sandstorm years ago. How he learned to live alone. How he trusted almost no one. Syraxa listened carefully. For a dragon giant, she had a quiet patience that surprised him. The morning of the 3rd day, Syraxa stood at the shelter's entrance. Her shoulder had healed enough for her to move freely. "We can go now," she said. Marcus nodded, picking up his pack. "Where to?" At first, he thought she didn't hear him. She stood very still, looking at the desert horizon. Then she said, "I want to find my people if any still live." Marcus swallowed. That sounded like a long, dangerous journey. "You think they might be out there?" "I must try," she replied. "There may be survivors. A few. Hidden. Hurt." Marcus nodded slowly. "Then I'll come with you." Syraxa turned sharply, surprised. "You will?" "Of course," Marcus said. "Can't let you wander into danger alone." Her expression changed again, but this time deeply. She looked almost emotional. "You choose to stay, even when you are free to leave?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah, I choose to." Syraxa's eyes glimmered like warm gold. "Then you are not what I expected." "And what did you expect?" he asked. She stepped closer, lowering her huge head until they were nearly face to face. "I expected humans to be afraid," she said quietly. "To use me or run from me, not to walk beside me." Marcus smiled. "You were wrong." She gave a soft, rumbling laugh. "Yes, and I think I am glad to be wrong." They walked out into the desert together, leaving the shelter behind. The sun rose slowly, washing the sand with light. Syraxa spread her wings, catching the warm air. Marcus walked beside her, not rushed, not afraid. As they traveled, Marcus understood something new. He had been wrong about Syraxa. He thought she was dangerous, unpredictable, a threat. But she was strong, loyal, brave, and more gentle than anyone had ever believed. Syraxa, on the other hand, realized she was wrong about Marcus. She thought humans were selfish, cruel, and weak. But Marcus was steady, kind, and stubborn enough to change everything. By the time they reached the dune ridge, Syraxa looked down at him and said, "You freed me, but you also gave me something greater." Marcus glanced up. "What's that?" "A reason to trust again." He smiled. "Funny, you gave me the same thing." They stood on the ridge together, looking out at the endless desert. Ahead of them lay danger, uncertainty, and unknown lands. But Syraxa was no longer alone, and Marcus was no longer wandering without purpose. Together, they walked forward, step by step, into a future neither of them expected. And Marcus finally understood what he had been wrong about. Freeing her didn't ruin his life. It saved it.